Stinging nettle is one of my favorite plants to forage and eat. It's super nutritious, high in protein. It has an endless amount of culinary uses, from being a cooked green all the way to soups and broths or sauce bases, and it even makes a really nice tea. But today we're going to use it for something a little different. We're going to make stinging nettle ice cream. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time being here, my name is Orion. I've been a forager for most of my life and a wild food educator for the last 10 years or so. My goal is to create connection to nature through food by teaching others how to forage or simply providing inspiration through my cooking. This nettle ice cream recipe is very simple. I'm going to be using a pretty standard ice cream base of 3 cups of liquid, 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 5 egg yolks, and around 2 to 3 cups of fresh chopped nettles. If you're interested in learning more about making ice cream at home, I would highly recommend this book, The Perfect Scoop. I'll have a link in the description if you'd like to get yourself a copy. Now, I said we're going to need 2 to 3 cups of fresh stinging nettle. I don't quite have that, so we're going to need to go out in the field and forage some before we can make our ice cream. So right next to me under this willow is a patch of stinging nettle. Stinging nettle is a great edible plant, but it is covered in stinging hairs that are called trichomes that, when they puncture your skin, release a mix of acid and other compounds that causes paresthesia, which is tingling, and urticaria, which is hives. The urticaria is where stinging nettle gets its genus name, Urtica. In North America, there's some debate on which species of nettle we have. It's likely that we even have some subspecies or unique species to ourselves. Some people think it's a non-native, but recent studies have shown that it's actually a native species. Usually people call nettle Urtica dioica, but it's starting to be more commonly accepted that our native nettle is Urtica gracilis. I'm going to harvest some of this nettle and do an experiment on myself to show you what happens when you get stung. I've been picking nettle for a long time and I'm pretty used to the stings, but I wanted to demonstrate it for you to see. And then we're going to take it back to the kitchen and make stinging nettle ice cream. Okay, let me show you what happens when you get stung by stinging nettle. The tips of my fingers are pretty tough and they can stand up to handling nettle like this. I can't say the same for the skin on the inside of my arm. So I felt a few stings hit me. We'll give them a couple minutes and I'll show you what it looks like. It's been about 30 seconds and you can already see a little bit of reddening happening, and I can feel it sort of tingling and a little bit itchy. Here are those stings after about 10 minutes. You can see they're nicely welted up. Those are the hives, or urticaria. It's a little itchy and tingly, but not too bad. That's kind of what you can expect if you get stung by stinging nettle. There are some people that use nettle stings to treat joint pain, and there's also a whole festival in the UK where they do all sorts of crazy stuff like eat raw nettle and sting themselves like I just did, and celebrate the plant because it is a really cool plant. Very nutritious, loaded with flavor, and just an interesting plant in my opinion. Welcome back to the kitchen. That stinging on my arm was completely gone after a few hours. So we've got plenty of stinging nettle for our ice cream here. I'm going to chop up 3 cups of this and then infuse it into 2 cups of cream and 1 cup of milk. We don't need to be too particular about chopping up the nettles. It's just to increase the surface area so we get a better infusion. If you're sensitive to the stings or don't feel like getting stung, then you should probably wear gloves during this portion. But I'm going to go ahead and do this barehanded because, like I said, I'm pretty used to the stings, and these are actually not really stinging me too much right now. We're going to simmer this, occasionally stirring until the nettles have wilted and infused into the ice cream base. So this has been simmering for 10 to 12 minutes. The nettles are nice and wilted, and the ice cream base is a subtle green color and has a nice nettle flavor. At this point, I would normally remove this from the heat, cover it, let it cool to room temperature, and then move it into the fridge to steep overnight. But I'm going to try something a little bit differently. I'm going to blend the nettles into this mixture to hopefully get an even stronger infusion, and then I'll let it steep overnight. I'm hoping that by blending the mixture, I'm going to get a deeper green color and a stronger nettle flavor. But I've never done this before, so it's a little bit of an experiment. Now I'm going to cover the mixture and let it cool to room temperature before finishing the steep in the fridge overnight. Our ice cream base is done steeping. All that's left to do is strain it, reheat it, add in the eggs, and churn it into ice cream. I don't mind a few little bits and pieces of nettle. You could strain this again through something a little finer if you wanted to remove them, but I think it'll be fine. This leftover pulp is essentially sweetened, creamy nettles. I'm gonna do a little experiment and dehydrate it. Now we're going to bring our cream mixture up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit and then temper our egg yolks and add everything back into the cream mixture to finish the ice cream base. The egg yolks have been incorporated. We're just going to cool this down and then churn it in our ice cream machine. I've got a little bit of the strained out nettles that I'm going to use as a topper. The rest of it's still dehydrating. I just grabbed some that was dried on the edge. Let's give it a try. If you've ever had green tea ice cream, it's pretty similar to that, but more earthy and wild. It's got that definite nettle flavor, which I was going for. I'm really happy with how this turned out. So if you're looking for something to do with your fresh nettles, give this a try. You can also make this with dried nettles, but it's a little bit different. If you'd like to learn about more ways to use nettles in your cooking, check out this video where I use nettles in 2 different ways to make wild pizza. Thanks for watching.